Forward with our elite lineup of speakers, it is now an absolute pleasure to introduce our next distinguished plenary speaker, joining us from Sunway University in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Associate Professor Dr. Hassan Abu Hasna. Professor Dr. Abu Hasna is an Associate Professor in Educational Technology with extensive expertise in artificial intelligence in education, online learning, and digital pedagogy. His research investigates how emerging technologies can be meaningfully integrated into higher education to enhance teaching, assessment, and scholarly publication. A widely published researcher in Scopus and Wave of Science Index journals, Dr. Abu Hasna's work addresses learners' engagement, instructional design, and the responsible use of AI. In addition to his research, he frequently conducts international workshops on scientific writing, systematic literature reviews, and AI-assisted research, advocating for AI as a tool to strengthen human creativity and critical inquiry. Today, his presentation is titled AI-Enhanced English Studies Education, Rethinking Writing, Assessment, Academic Integrity, and Human-Centered Pedagogy. Dr. Abu Hasna, we are absolutely thrilled to have your expertise with us today. The virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lisa. And it's a pleasure to be here today. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. It's visible.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. Once again, thank you very much. It's a real honor to be here with you today on this important conference at the Technological Advances and English Studies. My talk today will be about AI-enhanced English studies education, but I don't want to speak about the tool itself, the machine, AI as a machine only. I want to speak about AI as something that is now changing our relationship with not only language, but education in general. As someone working in AI and education, I see this moment as a very serious moment where AI is no longer outside the classroom. It's already in our students' writing, reading, thinking, translation, and the culture itself. So today I want us to ask ourselves one question together. When machines can generate a fluent language, what should remain deeply human? And I've heard from Prof. Rupert speech about what is the role for human in English studies. It's very interesting to hear because it's a continuous questions that everybody is asking. Now in this talk, I'll be talking about not only English studies, but as education in general, because in English studies today is not separated from the technology anymore. It is very connected to AI, digital humanities, creativity. I've heard from the audience about their critical thinking as well. It's a new way of producing knowledge. And this is why English studies must be part of the AI conversation. As I mentioned, not only the language, but education in general. This is not only a technical issue, it's a language issue. It's a writing issue. It is an authorship issue as well. So when AI writes, for example, a paragraph, we should not be only asking, is the paragraph correct? We should ask, what's the meaning behind it? Because we have not produced this kind of, essay or whatever paragraph that AI produced. So whose voice is presented? What is the culture that is missing? What are the assumptions that are hidden? And this is why English studies has a powerful role to play in this era. Now, during the talk, my central argument today is very simple, which is that AI should not replace the humanistic score of English studies or education. Instead, it should push us to redesign our writing, redesign our assessment, redesign our pedagogy. That's why I always say that in my talks. We should treat AI as a technology. And when we treat it as a technology, pedagogy comes first, technology comes second, and humans comes always. So I don't believe the answer is simply to ban AI. And I also don't believe we should accept AI blindly. So the real question is not AI or no AI. We should be asking ourselves, under what conditions can AI support a meaningful learning? And this is something that I usually use in my classroom, because I teach postgraduate, and their assessment mainly are written, essay, kind of assessment. So what I usually do is, I know they use ChatGPT or any generative AI tools. So I ask them to submit both the essay itself, which is maybe produced by AI, but along with that, I need to see their dialogue, their chat that they have created along with AI. For example, are they asking directly any generative AI to produce the assessment for them, or maybe give the structure, give summarized articles? For example, if they use Scopus AI is one of the tools that I always encourage my students to use, which is something that is brilliant in summarizing, thematic analysis kind of result that will enlighten student journey as a researchers. So in this talk, I will start with how AI is changing English studies. And then I'll discuss about the writing, because writing is where many of us already see the impact of AI. After that, I'll move to assessment. And then I'll talk about academic integrity. And then finally, I will end with the critical AI literacy, human-centered pedagogy. So this is not a technical talk about the algorithms, the machine itself. It's more about pedagogical talk about the language, learning, and human judgment always. Now, when we talk about English studies and how English studies is changing because of AI, is changing language production itself. Before, technology helped us to search and edit and check grammar. But now, generative AI can produce the text itself, and it can write essays. It can summarize a huge, thesis. It can translate paragraphs very accurately. It can also give feedback. It can act as a reviewer, as an external examiner, as you call it, So this changes something very important. We have treated students, or let's say we taught our students to write and to treat writing as an evidence of how they think. But now they could generally simply get a polished essay from ChatGPT, for example. But how this could be differentiated, because it's simply a fluent paragraph from their own voice is totally different if it's written by generative AI as well. So the question is, what remains human? If they can go simply write, give a background, I have teaching them to how to prompt, how to give a background, how to do zero shot, double shot. They are mastering their prompts nowadays. But eventually what remain human is the judgment, the experience, the culture. So I can assume that AI generate language, but in English studies, it reminds us that language is never just words. It's a feeling. It is a story. It's a culture that you feel behind this written essays. So this is why writing actually matters. In English studies, writing is not only the final product. Writing is let's call it a way of thinking. When the students write, they organize the ideas, they build their claims, and they choose what evidence they want to include. They also discover their own position. So from my point of view, the real danger is not simply AI writing as a producing knowledge, but the real danger is when students outsource their thinking process. And this is why, again, I asked to see both the product, the final product, as the assessment, and also the real dialogue that happens between them and generative AI, so that I could tell whether they are using thinking, critical thinking process, or they rely 100% on AI. And there is a big difference between using AI to improve the clarity, to improve the language, especially for non-native speakers. Now, if the students write first, then use AI to receive feedback, this can actually support the learning process. But if they write everything from the beginning, from the scratch, really 100%, then the student may submit a product without even reading the essay itself. This is the real problem that I can actually tell. And this is why, again, it's part of the assessment itself. It's part of the evaluation that I could see both the final product and the way that how they interact with generative AI. Now, the same AI tool could either support learning or produce a biased learning. Now, if a student asks, write me an essay for me and in this particular topic, the essay may exist, but there's no thinking bit behind it. There's no story behind it. The thinking of the students are missing. But if the students, for example, say, here's my draft, please critique, and maybe the student will go to Scopus AI, collect some meaningful articles, related, relevant articles to their topic, and then provide it to AI to summarize, give a structure, how to write, then AI becomes a thinking partner. This is what I always encourage the students, and this is what I teach in my classroom. So I show them how to use AI responsibly, ethically. Then your human judgment is always there, right? So it's not our goal as educators to only ask, did you use AI in producing this assessment? So the goal is, how did you use it? Show me, how did you use it? Show me evidence that you have not relied 100% in this kind of generative AI. So it's not banned, but it is to be used with conditions. Now, this is also why we need to make our writing journey more visible. Now, if the final essay is no longer enough, when we need to see the process behind it, we always ask students to show the original idea. I personally ask them to draft, show me the structure, show me the AI feedback they received from generative AI tools. And I'll compare that with the final product, the final assessment they actually submit. And then if this is different, the way of their writing is different, then I will judge them as AI partners, not just a writing machine. So I always ask them at the end of the class, because I mainly teach AI in education and how AI changes the way of teachers, mainly because I teach educators. So I always say, what do you think changed when you use generative AI responsibly? And why did it change? What did you learn from the whole process? This is a very important question because it moves beyond the assessment. Assessment uh, is not only a judgment uh, stage. I need them to understand that this is a learning process. I want them to understand that the AI is there to strengthen their critical thinking, not the other way around. And this is why I always talk about assessment, because assessment is, as I mentioned, is the final product where they could show whether they have learned something from AI. I used to give them tasks, for example, give the students an AI-generated interpretation of that poem, for example, and also use to provide them with a different generative AI tools. For example, this task, I give it to my postgraduate students, my DED students, and then I'll ask them to differentiate if they notice something different from, for example, generative AI, notebook LM. What's the difference between these two tools? Being, exposed to this kind of AI, generative AI tools, they will be able to critique AI itself, how the system works. Now, when we talk about academic integrity beyond the detection, it's not also about the AI report, what Turnitin report has produced as an evidence for them, because, and it happens, it's not accurate. The AI or Turnitin report is not an accurate tool that we could actually judge. And that is why we can see huge publishing houses like Elsevier now allowing researchers to use AI with some conditions and policy. But we need to acknowledge that. So it's not about the report itself. It's about whether they really understand the way behind it. They really understand that integrity must be designed through how transparent they are, how the process itself about their education, whether they have learned something from generative AI instead of just relaying 100%. And then at the end, AI has awarded the master degree or the PhD degree. So that is why also it's your responsibility as a teacher, as an educator, as a researcher to use assessment that is relevant. So using assessment specifically with AI policy, we really need to look into redesigning our curriculum, redesigning our pedagogy, what learning outcomes is being assessed, can AI support brainstorming, translation, grammar feedback. So what is allowed, what is not allowed, the way that the disclosure of the use of AI, the way that they acknowledge, the student, they acknowledge, I have using, for example, ChatGPT for what purpose, and also show the evidence, as I mentioned. It's not only the final product or the assessment, they need to submit both the assessment and the dialogue between whatever generative AI that they have used. Now, part of the journey as well as educators is to show them how the system works and how, for example, generative AI are environment friendly. Is it something that is sustainable for education? Is it something that we could simply use for no cost? I believe the students are not aware of they say maybe ChatGPT will charge us $20 every month, and that's all. But there's a huge, cost under the table. They don't know how the system works, how it could affect the environment, it could affect the economy. So they need to be aware of who created this tool, what data and culture are presented. Is there any evidence supported in the answer? Is it a correct answer? Is it bias? Is it something ethical? So they need to ask themselves before going to generative AI and generate questions. or answers for the assessment. So as I mentioned, human judgment is always um, very crucial, very important. And I always say pedagogy first, technology second, and human always. We need to teach the students that is not, I mean, if they submit the assessment, whether they pass or not, this is not the final judgment. We need to make them feel responsible for their assessment. We are producing another generation of researchers, educators, so they need to be aware of what's happening. So your role as a teacher is to redesign the whole system, redesign the pedagogy to be relevant with their exposure to technology and AI. At the same time, this needs to be along with their language, their culture, their society, and also producing evidence that they have used this ethically, not only the report. The report doesn't mean anything. In my classes, I have local Malaysian students, and I also have foreigners from US, from South Africa. Their writing is perfect. So when when their assessment goes to the system, the Turnitin shows me that it's 100% AI. But I do believe that it's not correct. So we don't rely on these kind of, evaluation tools, because there's no, as far as I know, there's no tool that could actually judge the students' written assessment, whether it's accurate or not. Also, we should treat equity, where different countries are not having the same exposure to technology. For example, in the Middle East, there are lack of technology, there lack of exposure to technology when it comes to language itself, where English, for example, is a powerful language, because majority of these generative AI tools are designed and they are built in English language. When it comes to other languages, it could be biased somehow. And also the power of the AI outputs. What are the data sets they use, the institutions, the market, and the cultural assumptions. Not all students are exposed to, for example, access to databases like Scopus, Web of Science. So the access of knowledge is different. The power of accessing knowledge from you in India is different from someone like me in Malaysia, in the UK, in the Middle East. So we should bear in mind these kind of questions. So the ethical question is, who benefits from these databases? Are they provided with equal opportunities? So as a practical roadmap for educators, we need to audit the assessments, which takes the product only. For example, we need to even relook into the role of teachers. Teachers are not someone who is responsible to transfer knowledge anymore. The knowledge is there. Maybe students have more knowledge or more exposure about the topic than you as educators. So we need to redesign the pedagogy to be relevant to what we are teaching. We need to define AI boundaries, what is allowed, what is not allowed, in terms of ethical issues as well. We also need to process evidences, as I mentioned. Show me the draft, show me the prompts behind the dialogue between you and the generative AI. And the students, are they able to differentiate between, for example, two different generative AI tools, Notebook LM, ChatGPT, you name it. And also students, are they able to evaluate AI outputs the way that we see it as educators, not just copy and paste material? And finally, how to protect their voices, their stories, their culture, their language, because I believe every person has a unique way of showing, their stories, telling their stories, and how they do their assessment as well. So what English studies can, sorry. I don't know if you can still see my screen.
No, we cannot see.
Mm. What about now?
Yes, it's fine.
All right. Okay. So uh, we should be, as a conclusion for my talk, looking at the product itself instead of the process. Uh, it's not only, sorry, we should be looking at the process over the product. Not only the product, the final product, we should be looking at the critical thinking, whether they are able to understand the system, where they are able to see the heading message behind their assessment, the essay, the story. So it's also voice over imitation, the ethics over detection. Is not. I tell them I don't look at the AI Keynote and report anymore. I look at the way that you write, because I could simply align that with the way that you interact in the classroom. So if they are somehow balanced, then I see no problem. Even if you don't talk much during the classroom, but I see the way that you think in your dialogue with generative AI tools, then that this is okay. And finally, humanity over efficiency. I always tell them, if AI can generate text, but it cannot replace human. It cannot replace your story, your experience, your history. All right. So it's not about the final product. It's about the process. It's about how you interact, how you understand the system. It's not about the report. It's not about the mark as well. It's about you, whether you have achieved some knowledge through this experience, or is it just a copy paste, a meaningless process? All right. Thank you very much. That's all about my talk. And now I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan Abu Hassana, for
Thank you.
such an exceptional, timely, and deeply reflective presentation. Especially your take on AI as technology, which comes second, and pedagogy comes first, is reflective indeed. Yet at the same time, our discussion on balancing, not banning the AI, the use of AI is fruitful indeed. Thank you. Thank you once again.